You look great.
Welcome, everybody. We are here today with day 5 of week 1 with having a mind shift. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. I'll tell you what, Yasmine, I really think I get more out of it. I don't know what other people are getting out of it, but I sure have gained from your insights and your coaching and your tips and so forth. So we're really excited to be here again today. And this is 5 generations, okay? 5 generations, think about this, of what we call E3, and that stands for expert, epic, entrepreneurs. Oh, you know what? I've got actually the other hangout coming up here because I wanted to make sure that we were all up. So I'm going to cut that off. Hang on a second. I was going over making some changes. I've got actually the other. Now I've got to go find it. So hang on with me a minute.
This is reality television.
This is one thing that you always have to be careful about. And now I have to actually find it. Oh, there it is, I think. I'm looking for it. There we go. No, I haven't found it yet. And now I have to actually find it. Oh, there it is, I think. No, I haven't found it yet. There we go. No, I haven't found it yet. This is why I think it said it was up here twice. Yikes. Oh, there it is. No, I haven't found it yet. There we go. This is why I think it said it was up here twice.
It's funny to hear things back again.
I know, I know.
It's funny to hear things back again.
I know, I know. Okay, let me see here.
It's funny to hear things back again.
I know, I know.
Do you want us to hang up and come back in the hangout?
No, because once it's started, now we can't.
Oh.
Okay, folks, we're going to really work to find this.
Do you want us to hang up and come back in the hangout?
We can't do that. It started now. It's not like a blab. Once it's started, now we can't.
Oh. So it's good to, this is a good teaching opportunity for everybody who may want to consider using these tools for themselves, of what not to do or what to prepare for or what to expect, of what could go wrong, what works, what doesn't work. So the blab is great for certain things, and then Google Hangouts is great for others. Tools for themselves, of what not to do or what to prepare for or what to expect, of what could go wrong, what works, what doesn't work. So the blab is great for certain things. And
okay. Can you hear me now?
I can. I think you got it by George.
By George. That is like one thing I always check on. And, here's what I wondered. It actually showed it up here twice, so I apologize to you all. And this is some of the things that can happen with technology when you have different windows open and you're trying to manage the different vantage points. But, here's what we're all about this week. We were all about mind shift. So encountering situations and how we respond. And the reason I stopped talking is because I realized at that point, anything I said was going to loop back through. So I was trying to just not say anything and then, try to just keep trying to find it. But we found it. Here we go. So
yes, thanks for not giving up.
Here we are on a Friday, and man, it's always interesting what comes up. And I'm not quite sure because it's still showing me on here twice, and I knew it when I started it, but couldn't find it. Anyway, it's not looping back through. That's one of the reasons we actually have this embedded on our site at 247 Epic Entrepreneurs, just so you know that if you're watching this, that's where you're seeing it. But we have to be actually on the Hangout as presenters. So we're over on the Google Hangout platform. And those are two different things. And one of the reasons I don't usually have the other up is because of exactly what you experience, because you have to go over there, you have to turn it off once it starts, and it can make it a little bit challenging. So sometimes when you're doing these, if you have somebody who is with you that knows, it can just manage your Hangouts. I'll tell you personally, one of the things that's challenging is if you're the person who knows how to do the Hangouts, and then you have to also be the person to manage it and you're presenting. So just a heads up if you're ever using these tools, and you will be using them if you're an entrepreneur, I promise you that. And part of the reason is that Google Hangouts are amazing for SEO. And that's why even when I'm doing little 30-second videos, minute-long ones, I train people on how to use this platform for those videos. Because basically Google owns YouTube. And when these Hangouts or live streams finish, they become an evergreen video. So if you're on the 247 Epic Entrepreneurs right now, you'll see that there's a button for you to go to for archives. And those archives are over there because every day this week it has become what we call an evergreen video. So hopefully that gave us a chance to kind of talk about it a little bit, right, Yasmine?
Absolutely. And we've also, privately amongst our own team, coined this week as sort of our guinea pig week, working things out. You think it's going to go one way as you're planning and as you're bringing your expertise together and thinking about the topics, combine it with the technology. It's really similar to, what traditional media does. They have the producer, behind the scenes managing all the technical stuff, and then the talent who's on screen or on the radio or the broadcaster. So it sounds like it really would be great, to be able to expand if people have that capability to outsource, have somebody else run the Google Hangout and so on and so forth, because especially if it's live, just like on live television, you never know what's going to happen, So that's why we call this our guinea pig week, because we're, working as is coming together. The show must go on, as they say. So, and we just keep on going away and really going on. And truly, we're really about being real. So these are real challenges that you're going to experience. Yeah. So I always like to say, whenever there's a breakdown, there's, breakthrough on the other side of that. And that is, we just stay calm, centered in our essence, and just work through it instead of like going into chaos, right? So just to tie that in from previous.
Yeah, well, we realize that there's chaos, but we have to deal with it anyway, and we just keep moving through it. So it's all good. It's just a lesson of what kind of things you encounter as an entrepreneur with technology or with anything. And I can tell you, I've been doing these a long time, and I've had a couple of situations happen this week that don't normally happen, which is okay. So that just kind of goes to show you, it doesn't matter how experienced you are with doing something, anything can happen. You take somebody like who's at the top of their game, when Michael Jordan was, or with Tiger Woods or something like that. Do you think they don't sometimes hit the ball in the water when they were trying to keep it in the, in playing action? Yeah. With Tiger Woods, or do you think Michael Jordan never missed a shot at the buzzer? Oh, he obviously missed a lot at the buzzer, but guess what? He made a lot at the buzzer, and he became known as the clutch person. So it's not that we don't have things go wrong. It's not that we don't encounter things. It's just that we move through them, and we don't allow it to keep us from doing what we really want to do and what we're passionate about. Yasmine, I find all the time that when somebody wants an excuse to quit doing something, they'll find it. The old saying goes, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you will find a way, no matter what it takes. If you're passionate, this is what you want to do. I've been one for 35 years. So my goodness, the things I've encountered, and Yasmine, one of the things I often ask people, or it's sort of like a saying, if you've never had a failure, you've really never been an entrepreneur, because you're going to encounter these situations. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started, because this is all about you. Okay. So Yasmine, we had some things and questions that we kind of wanted to put out to people. So they kind of have some things to go along with and look at how they're going to have a mind shift relative to some of these questions. So let's share those with folks.
Well, to recap and bring it all together, and then bring in the questions would be ideal. And so I just want to review what we've gone over this week, which was the blind spot, right? What you don't know, is going to hold you back.
Hey, I just found one of those. That blind spot came out and we had to handle it. What a great example.
Boom. And you handle it with such grace and ease. And really, it's how you responded, right? Which is what we were talking about. It's how you respond instead of like freaking out. So it's how you choose to respond, which is another one. Do we want to be victim or responsible? Do we want to be in love or fear? Or another way of saying it is in essence or in survival mechanism, as coach training terms that I've used from accomplishment coaching. They're all meaning the same thing. You could either operate from those places of fear, or you can operate from love and being centered and empowered and clarity. And that's really where, we're a great example. Like, okay, I'm having this issue right now, and I'm just going to keep plugging along and stay focused on what I need to do because I really want to be on this hangout. So, those are the kinds of things that entrepreneurs need to expect. There's going to be challenges. So who are you in the face of those challenges? Right. And I wanted to share a little bit of a description a little bit further before I go into the questions of what survival mechanism or being in an old pattern might look like, or if people are stable or stuck. Remember you talking about stable and metastable? Yeah. And stable is like, staying in your comfort zone. So just to share a few things, survival mechanism might be doing what's familiar or what's a known pattern. If you find yourself wanting to control, reasons, again, why not? Like you said, you could find an excuse. If you maintain in your comfort zone, if you feel like, no, it's the truth, it's the absolute truth, without really recognizing or being willing to see, no, it might be a blind spot, or might there be another possibility that you're stubborn, stuck in, no, it is this way, it can't be any other way. You're stuck in survival mechanism. You're in fear, that you are limited in your feelings and in your thoughts. You feel like you're in despair. So those are the kinds of things that you can recognize more tangibly of what that fear might feel like, or that experience might be like if you're stuck. Now, if you're in your essence, there's a whole list of that too. Reactive is another way versus being responsive, which we talked about. Versus being in essence, these are some samples so people can really begin to recognize what does it look like when I'm in my essence, right? So some of these are really being present. That's key. Like being present in the moment, conscious, grounded in your body on purpose. Things appear and feel and are experienced effortlessly. You're coachable. You're vulnerable. You're willing to take risks. You have access to power. There's an acceptance, joy. You're just being with what's so versus resisting your reality. Satisfied, vitality, love. And actually being in essence is interesting because we talked about chaos versus results. That being with the chaos and how you respond to it makes all the difference in the world. Peace. Are you willing to reinvent? Like reinvent you, which is what we're talking about all week. Willing to be in the solution, right? That's what we're going to be talking about as our bonus week 5. Be a solutionist. Be solution centric. Allow, you're going to love this, allow for room for mistakes. Yeah. And the gift of trust. So these are examples of being in essence, but essentially it's coming down to like love, trust, being present, being in the moment. That's when you're going to feel true satisfaction in life. That's where you can choose in the moment, how you're going to respond. Freak out, go into the past as we would have in the past, done before, or live from power. So those are just choices now. But again, we have to bring it from our blind spot to the awareness. So we're just teaching people what to look for in their life to recognize if they're in a fearful place or if they're in a place of love or power. Right? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting, Yasmine. I was just sitting here thinking, one of the things that I have often done, if somebody said something, I would think, coming from how I like to receive information, I would think they needed more information. So I would begin to give an explanation. And sometimes that would come across as being a defensive posture. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I even, like, I'm thinking just to what even happened. I realized that if I tried to explain what was going on, it was only going to loop back through. So did you notice that I began and I just became silent? Because I knew every time I said something to explain what was going on, that it was going to then come back through, and that was going to be even more distracting. So it was almost like, oh, wow, there's no need to be really over explaining this right now. Just stay with it, keep finding the source of what's going on, and let it be. Does that make sense?
Yep, you were totally present and coming up with that solution right there and then. And I could see that. And even though what I know you mean a loop around for the hangout, but it really is a great metaphor, like thoughts will loop around, right? The things will loop in our mind. So that's a great.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah.
When we're tempted to say, oh, let's go back. It's just kind of like, should we get off and come back on? Well, you can't get off that particular one and come back on because it's on record right now. Once we end it, it's ended. So the people who are watching either live or in a recording over at the 247 Epic Entrepreneurs, if it was live right now, all of a sudden it would just go blank for them. Now, granted, we could have started a new one and then we would have to go put the embed code in it. So these are the technological things that you're not aware of how that happens, but that's what would have to be done. And we can make it look all clean and pretty. But, this is about being specific, being focused, being real. We're trying to just be examples of allowing for what comes up when you're an entrepreneur and you're in the moment. And it's even with things like, doing hangouts or webinars over the years. Lots of times Robbie would come in and she'd say, hey, that sounds like that really went well. And I'd just die laughing. I'd say, there was nobody on it. And she'd go, what? And I'd say, well, here's the thing. If you're not willing to present the same way to 0 people as you would to 1,000, you will never be prepared to present to 1,000 people. In other words, when it's time, when it's game time, that's when we have to step it up. And when you're in the game of life, of business, or in a real game, things happen which causes adjustments. Like even in the game of golf, that's why it's such a mind game. You encounter situations. That's why sports is a great place for people to learn life skills. Even when you might have to say to somebody, look, I'm not telling you that you fix your hair funny or that your mama dressed you funny or anything like that, but you were supposed to be playing second base and you're over here in left field. Now we got to get you back into position. You don't need to take it personally. Somebody's just trying to give you some coaching and some help that will help the whole team at that point. So these are the kind of things I think, Yasmine, we run into, whether we're, we may be a solopreneur, but you're still going to run into stuff, right?
All the time.
Yeah.
And, there's no man or woman is an island. So if you're building a business, even if you're a solopreneur, you're going to have people either you outsource with or you collaborate with. Like we're both independents, but we're collaborating. We're bringing our gifts and talents together and collaborating. So those are the kinds of things, your clients, people that you're going to work with, people that you have as vendors. So these are the types of people that you're going to come across. And it does take a team.
Yeah.
So how to finesse and have it all work. That's the big thing. So that's a great analogy. And of course, sports, everybody gets sports for the most part and can understand and relate to building a business is like building like a team for sport,
Yeah.
or playing in the sport.
Well, it's interesting what you said about no man is an island. I was actually messaging with Maisie Jackson the other day, who I went to high school with. And I said, Maisie, do you remember when Mr. Withers broke out in song in our English class? And he started singing. And I thought it was so cool. And a lot of the kids laughed, to be quite honest. But I always look back and I remember that. He just broke out in song, No Man is an Island. And we were going over that, and he sung it for us. And I have never forgotten that. And it's part of why when I say that people often say, oh, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, as if they did it all on their own. And I remind them, somebody made the boots, somebody made the straps. We never do anything on our own. That's delusional. It's an illusion we have, first of all, being in control. In its way, we try to make our world safe. You know, I get that, but it just leads right back into no man is an island. You know, we're all connected. We're in this together. And the more I've reached out to people, Yasmine, the more I've gained in my business, because I have somebody I can call upon, especially when we get into things like, you know, I know that each one of us has stories about times we wanted to quit, you know, but we kept pushing through. And so what do people do when they encounter this, Yasmine? I mean, how are they going to stay with it in the long haul to be an entrepreneur? What kind of shift are they going to have?
Well, first of all, first and foremost, their desire has to be so great that would overcome any obstacle that they have. Yeah. That's the number one thing. There's such a great book. I know you know this book. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And it's always one of those books that I always recommend to clients, to friends, to family members, to loved ones, people I come across. It's such a powerful book. In essence, it is about the law of attraction, but I mean, what you think you bring about, type of, you know, the focus, what you focus on. But there's so many juicy principles in that book. And that book was written decades ago in the early part of the century. I think it was Andrew Carnegie that commissioned Napoleon Hill. He was somewhat of a journalist, a reporter of some sorts. And he tasked him and commissioned him to go around and interview the top 100 successful people and collect that data and put in a book. And this is the book, Think and Grow Rich. And one of those things is desire. You got to have that desire. It is so critical, because you're going to come across those naysayers and those poo-pooers, and you're going to come across decisions you're not going to want to make. You might have to let people go. You might have to go through some financial, you know, ups and downs, or make some real critical decisions in your business, whatever it might be. You know, there's so many things, you know. Do I invest in marketing? Do I invest in operations? What do I invest in? Do I invest, you know, what do I learn social media? I mean, there's so many things that an entrepreneur has to think about, but its desire is so critical. And then clarity, really being clear on what your vision and your goal is and where you're going, and really owning the talents that you bring to the table. And I would say focus on your gifts and talents, and like outsource everything else. So many people, I know I've been a culprit of it, want to fix what we're not good at, like try to do that. And it's so stressful, stressful. There's another great book called The 4-Hour Workweek. These are, you know, tried and true books that have been around for a while. And the 4-Hour Workweek is all about outsourcing, doing what you love. Yes, you might have to pay those people, but if the 4-Hour Workweek, you're working less, you might be making less, but you have a life. So those kinds of things, those are some great, great books. There's another book called The E-Myth that's phenomenal about bringing about business. But again, all of them boils down to what's your desire. Because, you know, if you're up till 3 o'clock in the morning, let's slap happy like you and Cheryl were last night, right? Working on stuff for this project that we're doing right here, right now for Epic Entrepreneur. Like, it was your desire, it's your passion. Another thing is your passion, right? It's your passion of this project that you're doing, and I'm getting my chill check. So that's always first and foremost, and then, you know, building that team of support, so that in those times that either you're up against a challenge or a fear or a breakdown, that you just all kinds of things. No man or woman is an island. So those are the kinds of things I I would say. Was that what you were kind of alluding to for?
Yeah, and when we're talking about desire and everything, it is so important. And the number two thing you said about clarity, I think, and I can personally speak to this, this is probably the hardest one for people often to get, is clarity, what they really want to do. And so what happens is they have a lot of desire and passion, and then when they're not clear, they allow other people's thoughts, comments and so forth to derail them. But I'm going to say this, and I want to be real clear. Nobody is obligated to live your dream. There's only one person that has that obligation itself. And so if you have that dream, if you have that passion, you work through to become more and more clear. How do you do that? By running into obstacles, by running into chaos. See, clarity doesn't come just like manifest itself out of air, out of thin air. It comes from strategically planning and then executing the plan, and then running into things where you go, okay, that didn't quite work. We need to take this route over here. And that's how we're actually even building what we call 5 generations of expert epic coaches, entrepreneurial coaching for people, as we give back to our community. And we're just, we're going where it takes us. We're at some points we're letting go and flowing with the river, as they say. And other times we're going, okay, we ran into this log. We've got to, get out and take a rest on the side of the river for a moment, regroup, see where we're going. So these are just things that you really are going to run into. But number one is, it's got to be your passion, your dream, and nobody else is responsible for that. The minute you make somebody else responsible, you will find any excuse and you will quit, and so that's not what you want to do. So you're going to have to move through all of those things. So Yasmine, I know that we want to take them through some specific questions we're going to give them. And also today is, we've been vaxing each day. And I do want to say there's an article that you all have been getting in email. You click on it and it's about vaxing and our visual, auditory, kinesthetic sensing and making statements. These are statements of declaration, affirmation that get cemented through the neural pathways, as Yasmine reminded us in an earlier, training. And so today, the one that we are going to be working on is vaxing for supported belief. So before we continue, Yasmine, do you have a supported belief that you can really think about? And your turn to vax. I've been vaxing.
Sure. Oh, okay. So supportive belief. Let's see.
See how it works in the moment? We go, okay, let me think. And that's okay, because we want to go, let me think about a supportive belief.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about and identified earlier in the week, really putting myself out there and being vulnerable, right? As far as one of my goals, right, is to shed the pounds after baby weight, hormones, you name it, stress, cortisol, whatever it might be, that the reason, it's all there. Plus, of course, eating habits and stress, and throw in emotional eating, whatever it is, right? The result is this, and I'm like, you're sick of yourself when you're sick of yourself, right? At a certain area in your life. And that's when you have that desire, desire. So I'm looking at a supportive belief, and that would be, I don't want to say losing, because I've heard losing is different from shedding pounds.
I say releasing.
Losing, because losing, you might find it again. At least this is what I've heard, because we create our world with language. So I've heard like shedding pounds, like you shed it, like the snake sheds.
What about releasing?
Releasing, releasing the weight. I release weight effortlessly. Something like that, right?
So see, that in the moment you identified, because you have a desire for supportive belief. So take your supportive belief and let's show people once again how we vax.
So let's do it together. Let's do it. There are different ways to vax. So, because I have different ways of vaxing than you might. So we've already taught them here. So I'm going to follow your lead. So let's show me the steps and how you like to vax. We do the ears.
first of all, we would start with what we call visual. So
Right.
V for visual, okay?
Right.
So Yasmine, I'm going to put it on you so that we can observe you doing your supportive belief with your vac. So I'll talk you through it. So
Okay.
5 times you're going to say your statement about your release of weight and it being easy. And you're going to look right into the camera here as you're doing, because we are who you are now connected with. We are accepting that this is so for you. So folks, I want to remind you that you might be looking in the mirror, or you might be looking into the eyes. Like if Yasmine and I were here together, we'd just be standing nose to nose. But in a way we are. We're doing our digital vax. So I am right there with you as you say this, okay? Mm-hmm. So 5 times you're going to look and say your statement.
So I release weight effortlessly. I release weight effortlessly. I release weight effortlessly. I release weight effortlessly. Was that 5 times?
That was 4, but that was great.
Oh, I don't want to say it 5 times. I was so like in the moment, I wasn't counting. I release weight effortlessly.
And one of the things you can do too is you can begin to change the emphasis on the words. Mm-hmm. I release weight so effortlessly. Mm-hmm. You know, there's just different nuances. And so now the auditory means with the ears. So you're going to say the same statements again as you rub your ear.
And I know the ears, and I'll have to tell you something when I'm done of some of the training I've done with VAX. But here is, so you just kind of squeeze the ear around the ear rolls, right? And you go all the way down because that's where a lot of the nerve endings are, right? So I release weight effortlessly. 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 Is that 5?
Awesome. Yeah. And so now we're going to do kinesthetic and sensing. And so think about this. I promise you, if that is one of your daily vacs over the next 90 days, you will lose and release weight effortlessly. Because here's what happened. The mind is no respecter of person. Okay. Let me just go back for a second as I say this. The mind is no respecter of person. It that subconscious and all that we're trying to activate, and it will do something that's empowering or something that's disempowering. So this is a very empowering thing. And so what will happen as you begin to do that, it's kind of like when I tell people who are smoking, just continue to say as you're smoking, I am a non-smoker. Now, Shad Helmstetter, who wrote the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, who was one of the first in this almost 40 years ago, he was overweight. He started putting little stickies on his mirror and about weight. And I mean, he's the guru of it, you know. But on these tapes that he did, and these were on cassettes back then. You got these little cassettes and you listened to them or you made your own. But think about it. Even with smoking, I am a non-smoker. I'm a non-smoker. So finally, the brain goes, if you're a non-smoker, what is that little white thing that's lit in your hand? And people would literally put that out. And as we all know and have heard from people who smoke, and we know scientifically, that is one of the most challenging, habits to break because of the addictive qualities. So let's go back to you now, Yasmine, and let's do the kinesthetic. So kinesthetic just means we're engaging our body. It doesn't mean you can be sitting right here in your chair and going, I do this. So go for it.
I lose weight effortlessly. No. Start again, Yasmine. Okay. I release weight effortlessly. 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 Is that 5?
Woo! I feel the energy now.
That's fun, right? And you can feel the energy moving too.
It is fun. And that's why, if you talk to some of the top speakers and everything, I was listening to something with Tony Robbins last night, and he talks about how he prepares in the moment he's going out on the stage, to up the energy and to be there with people. So
he calls it state, absolutely. Getting into state.
And so think about it. shouldn't we do as good for ourselves as we would do for others? See, here's the thing, and I'm going to say this is really challenging for people to get sometimes, but I say, I don't understand why when you become an entrepreneur, you don't do your job. You ought to fire yourself. You would never do the kind of crappy job for somebody else if you were working for them that you're doing for yourself right now. And then I ask that person, what is that about? You're not showing up. You're not putting in the effort. Why do you not value yourself enough that you're going to work for yourself in the same diligent way that you would work for somebody else? And so it's really a big thing for people to look at sometimes. So I'm just saying that if we do things daily that energize us, whether anybody's looking, anybody knows, it doesn't matter. We're giving to ourselves, and that is special.
Well, so, Tony was talking about rituals, remember, like creating this vaccine as a ritual. I know T. Harv Eker in his program, he does a 90-day, and you write it down, you go through those kind of vaccine. There are a multitude of ways of vaccine, but essentially it's all still the same, the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and through training I've done as well, you're also tapping into the taste and the smell, because those are the 5 senses, because that's how we translate our reality around us. So I want to make a mention of something real quick, just a little thing about a comment about what you just said. And they, you know, that old adage, the shoemaker's kids don't have shoes. You know what I mean? It's like he makes the beautiful shoes for his customers, but his own kids may not have the shoes, right? The shoemaker and that whole analogy, back to what you were saying about the entrepreneur. We don't treat ourselves, and I think part of it is because of that level of accountability as well, but also the value piece, and we get caught up in excuses. You know, I'm right there. Again, I tell people I'm in coaching because I like being coached. I like having that structure. I like being in the world of transformation, because it's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym once, you're not fit forever. It's this ongoing, right? It's this ongoing thing. So transformation is an ongoing commitment, recognizing when our own humanity gets in the way, right? So for whatever reason, like for me, with my own challenges that I'm up against for myself, I mean, I look at pictures and I was a size 4. I'm like, wait a minute, how did I get here? And I can have all kinds of excuses. My mother passed away instantly last year. My father's going through radiation treating cancer. So how am I dealing with it? You know, I've done in vitro. I mean, you name all the excuses, but at some point, like I said, you get sick of yourself and you look for ways for support. So for me, it's this. For other people, whatever that might be, like take it out of your blind spot, or if it's not even your blind spot, like when are you willing to put it in the forefront and commit? Because it's not only the desire and the passion, but you got to have the commitment as well. And that's the commitment, because you were asking earlier at the top of the call, how do people like not quit? And you know, we've all quit things before, and it may be actually the better choice. But if it's something you're really passionate about, something you really desire, you create that commitment and then create a structure around it that's accountability. So just to share it with our viewers, I asked you if you would be my accountability buddy, right? And I said, how about I text you every day? Because I know I'm gonna allow myself to slide, right? So once I find the program that's gonna fit for me, I do my R&D, right? And then I'm in. Once I commit, you and I were doing this, you know, county buddy relationship. Yeah. It wasn't easy for me because I want to resist it, right? But at the same time, you know, one of the things, like part of the VAC is the visual of putting up older, you know, pictures of me that could be inspirational, not like, oh my God, you know, I'll never be like that. And that's not the point. It's like an inspiration to myself, like as a goal or as a vision of training my subconscious mind. This is my desire, that I want to feel good, feel healthy. I have done vision boards, by the way, just in general, and I kid you not, vision boards have so come true. And the vision boards, you know, you have pictures and everything. It's training your subconscious mind what you want, because that absolutely speaks to you, you know what I mean? So all of these things go into that, the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So it just
now we got the S. So, and some people call it sensing, some people call it spiritual, some people, you know, the point is any of this, anything works if you do it.
Yeah.
You know, if we train ourselves to really daily speak to ourselves in a valuable way. Like I have a habit that I've done since I left the University of Kentucky, which was in '83, and I walk every day. Do I sometimes miss a day? Sometimes, and even in the Pacific Northwest, where in the winter we do get some rain, not all the time, I look for my moment. See, I look for an opportunity rather than a reason not to get out there, because, you know, it's just great for my mind. It really is, and I process and I move. So let's go with your S now.
Mm-hmm. Now my S, so my sensing. So for me, when I do an S, I actually go into I close my eyes and I actually start to feel. And what happens for me personally is energy. I feel actually energy moving through my body like a wave.
Yes.
When my body starts to align with subconscious and consciously, I feel like this wave or like this release of energy. I can't explain it. When you experience it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's similar to the chill check, but it's like this wave that overcomes my whole body. So the sensing part, I go in and I say it in my mind 5 times. Yes. And then I wait for it to actually, you'll feel energy movement of some sort, even if it's 1%. You know, it doesn't have to be a tsunami. It could be just a little bit of a shift that you feel. So that's me doing my S. How do you do your S?
When I do it, lots of times, I mean, I'll tell you, we've asked for lots of things. The home I've got right now, every home that we've had together, we've asked for. We would go sit in the house at a bar, you know, the little breakfast bars where there were no seats, and we would sit down. We would kind of squat like we were sitting on a stool, and we would vax, and we would say to one of our friends, "Oh, Judy, I would like another pancake." And we would totally vax. We would have pictures, you know, and the whole thing. But so what we would do, because we would be facing each other, we would just put our hands over sort of our heart.
Oh, that's what you would. That's right. I knew there was something.
Yeah, and we would even close our eyes, you know, and just say the statement 5 times, whatever we were going to do. Sometimes we would choose just to look right into each other's eyes. Sometimes when I'm by myself, I'll just close my eyes. So go for it and do your S however you want to.
It's actually a combination. So, and I want to share with the audience that the arms crisscross like this is to gauge both of the hemispheres, like of the brain. And so now I'm going to sit quietly and say it 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
The outcome is the same as when I do it. Like you feel like, because your eyes are closed, you're present to what's going on in your body. And I all of a sudden felt like this relaxation, like just a deep breath, just an exhale, like, and I felt this wave that comes over my body. And I wanted to share, I don't think you know this about me, because I do love to learn like you do. And I do love to look at ways to shift beliefs. So I'm always on a mission or a journey to discover latest and greatest technologies. I don't know if you've ever heard of this technology, but it's called Psyche. Have you ever heard of Psyche?
Okay.
Psyche.
I'm not sure I have, unless it's worded in a different way. It's not really.
This one is called Psyche. I mean, there's multitudes, but Psyche is psychology, kinesiology.
Okay, good.
And so I'm a trained practitioner in psychology, kinesiology. And what it does is, have you ever been to like the chiropractor and they do that arm?
Oh, yeah.
The kinesiology, right?
Yeah.
So psychology, kinesiology, you say a belief and say, I want to be rich. Let's just say, okay? You say, I want to be rich. Well, the practitioner will test your arm. Let's send you through a process. First, you got to set your mind. You got to be in state, if you will, for lack of a better word. The practitioner gets you in state. And then we'll test your arm to see if that belief is in sync with your subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind is the real driver. You think you're in the driver's seat, but your subconscious mind is. So what I always tell people, why I've been on this journey of finding out ways to pull from the root is shift at a subconscious level. So what Psyche does is the practitioner will test your arm. You say, okay, I want to be rich. And if your arm goes down, that means your muscle is weak. That means no, you don't. That means no.
Yes.
If your arm is strong, that means yes. That means your subconscious and your conscious mind are aligned. So powerful, so easy. The protocols are very easy to follow. And I too go in and out of having these tools. Like I have so many tools. So I'm just reminding myself I can use Psyche on myself. I use Psyche on other people. For my weight, like bring their all artillery in, you know, to support oneself to get where they want to go. So anyway, so what happens is when your arm goes down, your subconscious mind does not believe it. You go with the practitioner through the exercises that literally include what you're talking about, that engage both sides of the brain. Like you might cross your feet, you might do cross crawls, you might do this, but basically you're engaging both aspects of your body and saying it out loud or in your mind. Anyway, when that protocol is done, because there are many protocols.
Yes.
But when that protocol is done and you retest your arm and say, I am rich, not want to be, that's not perfect. I am rich, like in present time moment, and your arm is strong, you've shifted it. And now your subconscious mind and your conscious mind are in alignment. Now, does that mean you're going to be rich tomorrow? No, because that's a real deep, juicy one. There might be some other outlying beliefs that you got to work through, like I'm not worthy, or I'm not valued, or whatever. There might be other beliefs that tie in. It's like a spider web, because your neural net is, you know, it's very complex. But for the most part, if you want to be working on your goal, Psyche is one of the ways to it, and Vax is a part of it, just so you know. And they just do different ways. And I wasn't sure if you or the audience had ever heard of it, but it's very, very powerful.
Actually, I have, but it wasn't called that. That's why I was wondering. We actually did it in T. Harv Eckerd's training.
Yes, it's like that.
They just called it arm testing. And so we did that, and they had this protocol. Now, I'm not trained in that protocol, but what they did is they walked us through it, and everybody in the room was doing this arm testing statements, just like you said.
Yep.
It's very fascinating to really get in touch, because it's kind of like when people say they want to do something and they really don't, you can really get to the root of it and say, like, no, it's not coming through that that's what you really do want to do.
Exactly. So you can
wow. It's kind of like, oops, you're caught. You know,
yeah, exactly. And you know, if your subconscious mind does not feel, one of the questions is it, you know, is it safe and appropriate to make this shift, basically? And your subconscious mind does not think it is, it won't.
Yes.
It won't. So then you have to go back and find a different belief that you can Vax on, so that it actually can believe it and make that shift, because it may not be safe to do it. There might be something else, other layers, like peeling the onion. Yeah. But yes, I'm very clear that Harv Eckerd does his version. This one is a very in-depth. I'm not saying people go do this. I'm just, in general, Vax, you can have a very, you know.
I think it was just a little piece of what you're talking about,
yeah.
But I'm at least familiar with having done that some, not to a deeper extent, you know, outside of that. But anyway, I think we're about at the end of our time here together. And hey, it's been great, Yasmine. And you know, what's been fun this week is really laying the foundation and looking at mind shifts and just covering a lot of ground, really, as you can see. You're able to go back and watch the recordings of, you know, day one with our blab, and then the second, third, and fourth, and fifth days, where we've been on Hangouts and we've done some screen sharing and all those kind of things. And so the second week of our Get Biz Lean is on finances, and Stephanie Scheller Dupree is going to knock the socks off of you with what she's going to share with you. But she's going to continue to be looking at those mind shifts, and every day we have Vax around financial stuff next week. So like in general, we were doing, you know, things like looking at a big dream, looking at a supported belief, those kind of things. Then if you look at the article on vaccine, it's going to identify some things for you to do each day. And as you can see, now we were going through some explanations, so it took longer. But if you're just vaccine, I mean, it doesn't take long. It's not a huge commitment, but it's a big commitment. It's an important commitment. Don't you think, Yasmine?
It is. And I'm actually, you know, like you said, you get more out of these sometimes than maybe our audience. Like I'm getting so much, but I'm reminded of being back in these conversations, because I've had a little hiatus because I've had my little one. I put my focus on that, and now I get to have the opportunity to blend my two worlds, motherhood and you know, businesswoman, entrepreneur. And so it's been so exciting. So now I get to blend in these things, and as Tony calls them, rituals. So we have these tools and we want to share them with each other and our audience. And I'm getting inspired to be like, okay, I want to look at what my rituals I want to include for myself, you know, and actions that I want to take. And before we go, we want to give the audience an action, right? Some of the questions we want to give them. Is now a good time to share what that question would be?
Because we're kind of ending up here, and we want to give that last piece of value.
The best piece of value. So as coaches, we are committed to getting people in action. So one of the questions that I want to invite our audience to do is to look at, what does business or being an entrepreneur mean to you? What is your interpretation of it? And then the second piece is, write down all your biases and prejudice about business people and business itself. Like, for example, people might say business people are swindlers. They're only out for profit, or they're, you know, and those are the kinds of things you want to take from your blind spot and bring it to full view, because it will actually keep you stuck or held back, or you won't have the success that you think you want. Because if you believe this about business people, subconsciously you might believe this about yourself. So these questions you want to ask.
But one of the things it reminds me of is, it's why T. Harv Eker says, I can talk to you and in 5 minutes I can tell you what your money blueprint is.
That's right. It's exactly. It's a belief. It's a way to uncover the beliefs.
Yeah.
So we're here to support our entrepreneurs. So we want to uncover those limiting beliefs. So write those questions down and really identify. And if you find that it's not supportive, it's like one of those ahas, you know, it's like a clue. You know, you're a detective in your life going after what your blind spots or, you know, your limiting beliefs might be. And now you're aware of it. And we can use these techniques we've used this week to shift them. So that's the action I want to leave everybody with as far as from coaching. And I do have a wonderful a poem, if you will, that I'd like to read.
Yes.
You can tell me if that's the right time. Is that right? Is this great time? Great. So this is a poem called Anyway. And you may have heard some different versions of this, but I think it's so powerful. And I want to close out our week with this. So for our audience to really get, you know, a full view of what we're all about. So the paradoxical commandments of the poem Anyway. People are often unreasonable and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you're honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, others may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. So you see, in the final analysis, it is between you and God or universe or whatever it is you feel, or the force, now that Star Wars is out, force. It was never between you and them anyway. Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. By Kent Keith.
That is awesome. And that's where Brene Brown, Dare to Fail Greatly. I mean, it's amazing what that just communicates. So thanks, Yasmine, for being on with me this weekend. Yasmine and I will be covering the physical well-being component of our Get Biz Lean, because all of these things are important in your business and setting the foundation. So look to be with Stephanie on week 2, and we will be blabbing. We blab every Monday and invite people to come in and be coached. So you can catch us at blabmaven.com on Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and make your adjustments on the other time zones. So thank you so much, Yasmine, and we will see you next time.
Looking forward to seeing Stephanie. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.